Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third part of our session on the EU sanctions package, 20-year sanctions package against Russia. This is the third part. If you haven't watched the first two parts, please go ahead and do so. Today's topic is about trade circumvention and accountability. Wow, that's a heavy topic to follow. So activating new tools to secure borders and enforce adjustment, the 20th sanctions package of the EU against Russia. Let's have a go. So the first thing we talk about here is the anti-circumvention activations, a first ever implementation of the EU's newest powerful trade security tool. So that's what we find in the 20th packages. And it is the Kyrgyzstan activation. Okay, so a data-driven enforcement analysis showed a surge in re-export of high priority items to Russia via Kyrgyzstan. So there is now a new ban, a prohibition of export of all CNC machines and radios to the region due to the high diversion risk. So what is happening? Well, what's happening is pretty simple. The EU has published a list of high priority items you find on the battlefields that are completely prohibited to be sent to Russia, in not one way or the other. So not directly, but also indirectly, you're not allowed to do that. But for some reason, it's just Russia still receives them. So they've investigated the route and they found out there's a surge of re-exports, so goods being exported not to a prohibited country, for example, Kyrgyzstan, but then boom, they are re-exported to Russia. So via Kyrgyzstan to Russia is not okay because it will fuel the war. So now we have activated, or the EU has activated this rule, and therefore it is now prohibited to send all the CNC machines and radios. So CNC machines and radios are used in the military effort and are dual use items. And so therefore, at least the ones we're talking about here. And so at least, so there is a ban now. So when you want to send something to Kyrgyzstan, then this is also not allowed now. Okay, and this is a data-driven enforcement, so they can clearly see what's going on. They have the intelligence to see where the goods flow is and are, where they are, and therefore they have seen that there is this surge of re-exports, and so they have stopped this. Expanded export restrictions is next. So there are expanded export restrictions of industrial items, tools and steel, machinery, and the economic impact of all of those is significant, more than 360 million euros. So the industrial items which are now subject to restrictions, so which are no longer to be exported to Russia or imported from Russia, include laboratory glassware and high-performance lubricants. The tools and the steel types that are now being subject to a ban are certain articles made of steel and tools for metal production. So this is now an expansion, an escalation, if you want, of more and more items being placed onto the barred sanctions list, meaning that more and more Russia's ability to produce goods for war efforts is limited, as we're no longer allowed to sell to Russia even the basic commodities. So the list of things we're not allowed to do is incredibly long by now, which will lead to many businesses simply to cease operations in Russia. At least that's the idea. The machinery, industrial tractors, and articles made of rubber, certain types of rubber. And as I said, these export bans, things we cannot send to Russia anymore, now target 360 million euros. So there is no more possibility to send these items to Russia. And of course, on the import side, we also have an import ban, and that is 570 million euros worth of import restrictions. And here we are targeting all the goods that would generate revenue for Russia. Okay, as we said as we saw in part 2 on the banking system and the way to get paid, our efforts to allow for Russia to have revenue to fuel more of the war, prolong the war effort, is restricted by not allowing Russia to import from the European Union. So this targets metals, minerals, scrap steel, chemicals that fund the Kremlin's budget. And also we're introducing enhanced transit prohibition. They now apply via the Russian territory, which means even transiting goods from A to B is going to be difficult. And that is a particular issue for the north of Europe, Kaliningrad to the Russian mainland via Lithuania is a problem. So, and then the goods subject to restrictions. Here is an example. This now goes into just commercial goods now. We're talking lubricant, adhesives, energetics, copper, nickels, aluminium, scrap. There is now ban after ban after ban. Fertilizers, ammonia now is restricted. This is no longer just classical war machine. This is now targeting economic sectors and well-being of the Russian economy as a whole. And that cannot be good for the Russian economy for sure. Even we have 10 fur skins. I mean, the things you come up with. Wow. A word on accountability and justice, targeting those responsible for reprehensible acts and identity theft. Protection of the innocent, for the EU, it is really, really important to deal with the Ukrainian children that have been abducted. So new listings, 5 individual and 1 entity for the abduction and the indoctrination of nearly 20,000 children. So this is absolutely unforgivable to do that. Fighting against policies designed to diminish Ukrainian identity and forcibly assimilate youth to the Russian way of thinking. So there were actions there, and that led to more listings. There are other things that, as customs consultant, we are not directly involved with, but it is notable, so we should mention it here. Identity and narrative protection, so cultural property. The EU is sanctioning 4 persons involved in the appropriation and the seizure of Ukrainian cultural heritage and property, designing 4 propagandists with state-sponsored platforms spreading anti-Ukrainian narratives, and ensuring that the government-linked individuals that are held accountable for war-related crimes are also listed. So, were you aware of the Kyrgyzstan re-export risk? You might want to check out our trade intelligence service that helps you to monitor high priority items and stay clear of anti-circumvention triggers. If you want to know more about how we keep you up to date with customs on and export controls and sanctions and this 20 sanctions package, then check out the Customs Watch and also the Export Control and Sanctions Watch, our weekly briefings. And you can find out more on customsmanager.org. That's part 3 done. Thank you very much for watching, and I can't wait to talk to you again for the final part of our 4-part series, and that is going to be again to wrap us up on everything you need to know about the final part of the sanctions package. See you in a moment. Thank you.